Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to another episode of Intuitive Idiots. So, Andre,
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm okay. I'm all right. It's holiday time, kind of. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna be honest. Working in retail, fucking exhausted. I had to work on my damn day off yesterday, so I'm already kind of just. I'm over it, dude.
Well, it wasn't really your day off, was it?
No, not at all. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just I could go into a whole lot of things, but I try to temper it because I am so fucking irritated with holidays and with people and shopping, all that bullshit. But I won't get into it.
There was just a couple flying around there.
Mm-hmm.
Before we started recording, there was an orb that flew around Andre's head.
Yep. Happens a lot around here. Did you? I told you the story about the Sasquatch. I told you the story about that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
He lives right out in the woods, right near me. He's. I think he's fine. I don't know. He's nice to me.
he said he gave it an offering, so
Gave him a whole chicken.
that'll only satiate him for so long.
I got to get back out there again. I know one of these days.
So, the question of the day, if you had a superpower, what would it be? You could
Oh.
acquire a superpower of your choosing.
Whew. Golly, there's too many out there, and only one, right?
Just one.
And I can't be like, I want the superpower that lets me have all the superpowers, right?
No, no.
Damn. Okay. Um, maybe telekinesis.
It's where you can move things.
Yeah,
Mind.
yeah, like the ability to move stuff with your mind, like the Force, basically. Is there a specific list? Because at the top of my head, all I can think of is like flying, invisibility, telekinesis, and I don't know, strength. So I'm trying to think like I don't know anything beyond that. Like, what is a superhuman ability? I don't know.
It's an interpretive.
Right.
It's whichever one. So, like a was it a Rorschach painting? What did it look like?
Okay. I don't know. I would probably have to say telekinesis then, the ability to move things around at will and at ease for no fucking reason. It's not like I'm going to use it for good or evil. I'll just like kind of like every once in a while use it around the house, but I wouldn't be able to show it in public because that's too many questions. And that's the kind of thing that makes me think about this. Like, say, if I had a superpower, for instance, any one of them, I can't do it because then I become a phenomena or I become some kind of crazy thing that everyone wants to talk to. Like, if you meet a guy that can fly, you're not gonna be like, yeah, anyway, whatever. You know, you're gonna want to talk to that guy. He's gonna be on the news and shit. So I guess in my mind, I'm like, I'd have to have a power that's just subtle for my own enjoyment. I could pretend I'm in Star Wars. I can move objects around and stuff. Moving around in my house would be fantastic. But then I started thinking, like, how powerful is the telekinesis? What if I can only lift 3 pounds? That would suck. You know what I mean?
First of all, if you could fly, you could get away from all that shit.
To where? Earth, there's
Wherever,
people
wherever the
everywhere.
hell you want
Okay, so
on
if
the
you can
planet.
fly, can you breathe not air? Because how does that work the higher up you go? Are you still limited to the human condition?
Yeah,
Well, then, like, you
you
turn
still
into the
breathe for a
Mothman, where
while.
it's like you can't enjoy it because every time you try to fly somewhere, people are like, "Oh my God, look, it's that guy," you know. And I don't know, I can't think of any other way that you'd be able to enjoy flying. You'd have to do it at night, like the Mothman. And what if that's what the Mothman is?
Pour one out for the Mothman. Poor guy gets all this attention that he doesn't want.
Yeah, he's
So you would use telekinesis to move things around in your house and pretend you're in Star Wars.
yeah, yeah. It doesn't take much to make me happy, you know. One object that comes to mind is our modern mythology, and that is superheroes. So it's like, well, you have a superpower, you got to do superhand things, you know, help people. And it's like, well, fucking, you know, again, like there's too much like fucking responsibility with that idea. Like, I think in my mind, it's like, again, let's take flying out. Fine. What was one that you would say? Up to you.
Oh, X-ray vision.
Okay.
Now,
Okay. So what does that do? What does X-ray vision do?
I could see women naked under their clothes.
With X-rays, you wouldn't see bones and shit. Could you control the level? You know, the
Well,
depth of it.
for my X-ray vision, it would just be clothes. So
Okay. I didn't realize you could make shit up. Okay.
That's never had X-ray glasses as a kid,
No.
and then you realized that they didn't work.
No, I don't know. I didn't even know they made X-ray glasses, I
Yeah,
guess.
they would come like with like a prize cereals,
Back in the
and
70s.
I was the '70s, 3 years older than
In other words, if you had a superpower, you would use it only for your own pleasure.
you. Yeah,
Would you use it for good?
I mean that is good.
Work for TSA or something? You
That
know,
would be good,
I don't know. To somebody's
but that
agenda.
would be using it for evil.
I've never been on a plane, but I have heard stories of what people go through there, and I imagine just having you standing there, maybe that would be a good thing. And they'd be like, you don't have to go through the machine. Only this one man can see you naked now,
I
instead
don't
of the
know.
world.
Like, what if it's like a strange man that you don't trust?
They don't know that you can
What if
see
there
or
was a
can't
man
see.
that wasn't this handsome?
Well, they have no idea that you can and can't see. Okay, so my thing is, now that I'm thinking
Now, if they
about it,
told you that, then they would know.
if if you had X-ray vision and you could only see under clothes, correct? That's all you can do. Okay. What do you do with that? Do you just kind of like keep that in your mind? Like you just go in public, you see a lady, you snap a whatever, however that works. You just kind of go see through the clothes, and then what? You just go, that's
Yep,
dope, and that's it.
it's
Hmm.
always in here.
Now I want to change mine because I feel like mine's stupid. Apparently, I got to shoot higher in the fucking sky to have these opinions like this. So telekinesis would telekinesis not be pretty dope to be able to lift shit with your mind?
Yeah, but if all you're gonna do is play Star Wars at your house, like, what's the point?
What would you do with it?
I don't know. Never really thought of that.
We should try.
Uh, the thing is, I could usually just get up and move things on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the point?
But
Unless
you
a
don't
man
have to exert your physical energy.
I would open a jail cell if I were in jail. So I'd have to get in trouble and go to jail, and then like move. It's like the old trope from TV shows, like
Yeah.
guard falls asleep and you
Take the
take a
key.
stick and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get the keys from off his belt. I would just do that with my mind.
Right, but then you think about the way the modern world works. Your ass has already been identified. They're gonna be like, that fucking guy is gone now
Yeah,
somehow, and we'll just go get him
you're
again.
right. You're right. Telekinesis would be pretty pointless.
In that regard, what if you wanted to lift a tree? What if you wanted to take your home and go somewhere else with it? What's the
You
limit?
hook up all like the pipes. That wouldn't.
I think so far it seems kind of pointless to have any superpower because you could argue, oh, seeing under clothes is kind of cool for you, but then what? What do you do with that? Okay, can you turn it on and off yourself, or can it be like you can only like it's not really up to you? Are you in complete control of this idea of seeing through clothes?
A buddy of mine used to work at a strip club, right? He said that he just would start subconsciously doing that with everybody,
Mm.
like every woman that he met. But I don't think you could turn it off.
So you're gonna see everybody naked then?
And just women. I don't want to see naked men. So.
Exactly. But if you can't turn it off, what if a guy walks in front of it? Does it work that way? Is it a fucking beam that you're shooting towards a person? What if someone walks inside of that beam like a child? Now you're in trouble.
Well, no, nobody would know I had it.
No, they wouldn't know, but like let's pretend you're looking at a woman, you're in the mall, there's a lady standing there with no clothes on, and all of a sudden,
Okay,
like
so you decide to turn it on or off.
okay, so you changed it.
Well, yeah, because the implications are inappropriate.
Exactly. And that's the whole point. That one doesn't seem to work out very well now, does it? What if you had turned it off and you accidentally see a little bit too much of something you weren't supposed to?
No, you can never go back.
No, now you know. And then you turn into a pedophile.
The whole point is, Andre, and the reason why I picked that one
Okay.
in particular, You said it already early on. You wouldn't necessarily use it for good or evil.
No.
But then you mentioned I could use mine for the TSA. Would that be using it for good?
Depending on who's good and who's
Depends on
evil.
who you ask, right?
Yeah.
We talk about friends, family. Oh, he's a good guy. He got mixed up or something. Nobody's actually good. Nobody's actually really bad either. It's just so, and like nobody's objective either. So even if there were good and bad, it's just I like that person, so they're a good guy.
If you like somebody and they do something that's not good, you're gonna, if you, depending on how you like them, and I guess depending on what the thing is, sometimes we just give people free passes to be pieces of shit. Because you think of
Who's,
our,
determin- who's determining that it's not good? Is
right,
it
that's what I
you?
mean. That's what I mean. I don't know, like their ex tells you, like, yeah, man, like this, he fucking, did this thing to me, and you just sort of like, well, that's not a very good thing to do, but I don't know. I mean, how do you let something like that go? It depends on, like, because I think about good and evil all the time, and I think in reality, I don't necessarily know if that exists as a state outside of concept of, you know what I mean? Like, I believe that this is a good thing and that's bad. Objectivism, like I can't really see it as existing as good or evil, because then a lion eating a innocent gazelle is considered evil. Like, not really. It's fucking normal, right? Or one fish eating a smaller fish, is that good or evil? I watched a documentary about, they found a severed head on the side of the road of this woman. And it was a big deal to figure out who she was, how she got there. They tried to solve the crime, correct? We don't do that with any other animal, except
Yeah.
maybe if it's like a dog. I don't know. I mean, some people give a shit about that, dog in that way, but any other animal, we don't give a fuck. If I cut a deer's head off and left it on the side of the road, you're not going to be like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, I think, well, that's inside our human sphere. So what about morality? What about your one cat attacking the other cat? Is that cat fucking evil? Is that a bad thing it did? Can you even tell me the answer to that? It's like, that's how you can start thinking when it comes to good and evil. It's like, what exactly does that mean? Like, I guess if we want to talk about it here and try to solve it, I guess maybe we should define what we think good and evil is, if indeed we do think that. And if you don't, we should probably at least force it to happen, just so we can kind of see this experiment kind of play out, like how we could define good and evil, maybe.
It's so subjective. And it's like, okay, like you're doing good by consoling somebody, but what if they need to feel that pain to learn something? Then it's like you're enabling.
Exactly. So we'd have to kind of think in terms of like a certain, maybe a scenario, and we could kind of like maybe a real life one or something made up. We could try to define what we think could be good and evil in that sense, perhaps.
And everybody would have an opinion
Right.
and be right back at square one.
What do you want to do about that then?
Figure out where it comes from.
Good and evil?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or the discernment of such.
Okay. So,
Because every day we do this,
right.
but you just don't really look at it.
So I guess my first question for you then is, what is the purpose of discerning good and evil
So you know what to do
with said thing?
with anything.
Can you define that beyond a human being
Like for a giraffe,
or physical things that happen, like acts of nature, as in like a storm or a tornado or whatever?
what about is it like as far as like the storm? If the storm is deciding to hit a village or something, like what?
Yeah, see what I mean? See how it's only kind of tied to people? Because the more
Yeah,
you try to tie it away from people, the more it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like a comet
yeah.
has fucking evil intent. Like, no. My point I'm trying to make right now is, it seems like we only attribute this to human beings. I mean, maybe an
That's all we
animal.
can do. That's all we
So
can do.
why? Why only
Even
humans?
smart animals, we give them human, like we think of them as human intelligence. That's why we say an animal's smart. It acts like a person.
Right. Well, my question then is always going to be, it's like, but why do we do that said thing? Why does a human construct that exists. We've created it, and we're taking part in it every day. We're always taking part in civilization. We're going to our jobs. We're fucking driving our cars. We're doing all this shit. How do we discern? Okay, because for me, there's got to be levels to it. There's got to be a good and evil on a very like high level. Like the politicians are fucking evil, all the way down to like a little decision you made where you didn't quite think about your girlfriend. You're like, I don't really fucking care what she thinks about it. You could do it at any level. So my point always is like, well, then what is the idea behind that? What is the idea of discerning what spectrum it lies on? You know what I'm saying? Why does everything have to have this hard line of there's the devil and there's God? And that's fucking it, man. There's no other, it's not cut, it's just cut and dry in that sense, and there's no such thing as like the neutral angels. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no such thing as that. That doesn't exist. That's a Muslim shit. For me, it just kind of, it is a very strange idea to label something as good and evil, because even if you watch something long enough, you start to realize, hey man, like maybe he's not as bad as he comes across. Maybe he's just doing something I can't quite understand.
Yeah, the same way everybody thinks that they're the good guy in a fight.
When I was a young man growing up, I remember I'd always ask my friends, like, hey, question, am I a good person? And they'd always say the exact same thing. They'd always say, only a good person would ask that question. And I'd say, I find that to be fucking bullshit. Like, when I was a young man, I really did. I was like, that's a stupid fucking answer. Because I want to know, like, there were certain things that I did in my life at the time, and I thought, that's not a very good thing to do. That wasn't very kind. That was not really nice. And so I'd judge myself and I'd say, am I a good person or am I a bad person? That's all I ever wanted to do. Because I was capable of good and bad, my mind instantly wanted to know, which one am I? And I'd always meet that damn response. Like, well, good people don't generally ask if they're a good person. And I'd say, are you sure
So
about
all
that?
you got to do is ask enough people if you're a good person, and you'll be a good person. There you go.
Yeah, apparently so. And it's like, I think that's kind of fucking bullshit. Because I know for a fact as a human being, like I'm capable of helping out that old lady in a grocery store, but I'm also just as capable of being a fucking sadistical piece of shit. It's within myself. We talked about in the last video. It's like whether you choose to or not, how you act with your moral compass. Like, how do you define who you are in this world? And to me, it always comes back to the moral compass, the idea of this is what we agree upon within myself, of what I'm going to be in public and not. And whether you extend that out to the outward world, some people don't. They give themselves a free pass and others they don't. So there's a lot of different aspects of it. But the only thing I can think that is driving good and evil is your morality.
When I was in second grade, my friend, like my best friend John, he brought in a pocket knife to school, and I told the teacher, and he got in trouble, and I got a little note, and my teacher told me he did such a good thing. Now, what they didn't know was I had gotten a Swiss Army knife for Christmas that year, and cut my finger, just nicked it a little bit. My mom freaked out, and ran my finger under cold water, and took the Swiss Army knife away, and then gave it back to me a few years later. But I was just jealous that he had a Swiss Army knife and I didn't.
Mm.
So, did I really do a good thing?
Yeah, that is interesting. That is very interesting.
And it showed me very early on in my life how subjective that could be. 'Cause, I
Right.
mean, you're really not making even like heady decisions at that age. You're not thinking about what you're doing when you're 7. You're just
You're doing.
repeating what other people say and then doing what other people tell you to.
So that is a very interesting idea. It's like at one point you were rewarded for doing something that a teacher defined as a good act, but it was born from what one could define as a bad act, jealousy, right? You could define
Mm-hmm.
it that way if you'd like. And it kind of canceled each other out in a sense, but it didn't. The bad was rewarded by how someone externally sees it as a good. So if you outwardly do something that makes another person happy, that's in their morality idea of what good and evil is, no matter what intent you had, it was rewarded. I could, to me, that's a simple cause of like good and evil is defined by the people around you. You could define it yourself in the acts that you do, but look at that case right there where it was you doing something, again, we could define as not a very good thing to do, but you were given a positive reward because another person saw that very thing, didn't hear what was going on in your head. They only saw the action and thought, that's a good thing that that kid did. That kid saved us, or whatever. So like what
Yeah,
happened after
like
that then?
he got suspended um, for like a day, and but we were still friends. But he moved away about a year later, so that was that.
Did you think about that at all afterward besides telling me this story? That
I
one
mean,
moment?
I mean, I've thought about it over the years. Like, it's not like the first time this is coming up ever. I think it's the first time that I'm kind of relating it to something like this.
So in lieu of our conversation, and since we're talking about it, how do you define that moment now in your own words? I know it's kind of a small thing, but like to examine it, like we're talking about what is good,
It's
what
kind
is
of funny.
evil, right?
How, I'm looking at it from the frame of someone who's worked at places where the best employees, like the worst employees, get rewarded.
Yeah.
So, and not worse, like in the classical fashion of like, oh, they just sit around and do nothing. Like the employees that hurt the other people around them by being too involved or by following the company line to a detriment. But
How do you define that act now in terms of what is good and bad?
it was only bad because it was easy to do.
Hmm.
It wasn't hard for me to do. Now, if I had known that John was going to be angry at me, then maybe. And I think that's what the teachers were most likely thinking. They're friends, and he would never do that to his friend, and he probably really didn't want to, but and they forget that kids are kids. Um, it was easy for me to do. There wasn't any there wasn't any forethought. It's like the right thing to do is almost always. I mean, it's never the easier option. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the right thing to do.
I mean, that goes into many different aspects of our lives, whether there's huge repercussions to it or tiny little nothing repercussions. It's all about how we react to something around us. And again, to me, it seems like, how does someone react to you reacting? The decision that you made caused
Well,
another person
but
to define it.
do you believe in? I fucking hate that. I hate believe. Do you believe in this? Do you
Yeah.
believe that? Let me just ask you straight out. Are these things intrinsic? Like, is there a good and an evil, or at least a scale,
Yeah.
like an objective scale?
So part of me that wants to say, of course, right? But that's the part of me that understood, well, that did not understand the reality that religion plays, because that is the biggest case of morality. Besides like law, as a human construct, religion is this is defining the acts of it. Because you can take this concept that religion splays out to you, so in terms of Christianity, and we can use that as a spectrum of measurement of good and evil, an act. Because there's the idea of, well, these are tenets that we believe, don't kill someone, don't covet thy neighbor's ox, don't, have sex with your brother's wife and shit. Like there's weird rules and stuff, and those are so
Unless your
vague.
brother died. and you got to be
Well, you got to
his.
make she
You
got to
got to
be
be.
remarried. Yeah, this whole fucking thing. But my point is, inside of religion, we have it defined good and evil based on mythological lore of a devil and a god, in this case of Christianity. And inside of that, we had to create an idea of how do we define the spectrum from highest to the low. So that's when the commandments come out. That's when, I'm not really deep into Christian fucking theology here, but there's an idea that we can explain how do I put you on the spectrum and what are the repercussions to that. So, sin in this case. How can one redeem themselves, which is a good act. To redeem yourself is a good act. And so for me, when I look at good and evil, I say you can make that make sense in a construct. If we agree on this construct, right? Because a Christian's
Yeah.
good and evil is different than a Muslim's. A Muslim's different than a Jew's. And these are the main three. I'm not even going to get into the fucking Eastern shit. But my point is, in that realm, yes, human constructs, you can easily define what is good and evil. People want to. That's why it fucking exists everywhere. I will give one example, then I'll tell you what I really think. The example is I've been watching a documentary on Netflix called Turning Points. I don't know if you've heard of it. And it went into 9/11. And this one starts from the 9/11 attacks all the way to the ending of that conflict, this 20-year span. And when you watch it, you start to define, like, okay, what exactly was good and evil, right? So simply we could say, the Al-Qaeda attacked because they don't like freedom or whatever the fucking bullshit was. They don't like America. They attacked our land, our trade center. We have to do something of a godly justice to them by enacting a war upon the Taliban, the Al-Qaeda, whatever the fuck. And it's like you could sit there and try to debate, like, well, but why did they do that? So what is good and evil in the sense of why a air quote terrorist organization would do such a thing, as opposed to when we go and do fucking messed up shit as a country in other places. So now we're starting to get foggy here. We're starting to go, like, well, I don't know. Boom, you have two avenues to approach what good and evil is within the ideas of law and civilization and religion. Easily. It's so easy to do. That's why it fucking exists. It's like I don't have the processing power to define whether this man's act was good and evil, and someone's like, no need to. There's a book called the Bible. Just read that son of a bitch and it'll tell you. That's what the world wants. That's the easy answer. And then to go back to what I really think, I don't know if it exists. I really don't know if I believe good and evil. Now, I'm not saying I'm right in this. It's just something I've noticed. I don't think it exists. I think it's a made-up construct that makes life nice and cute and simple, but in reality, it's fucking bullshit. I don't look at the world in that way unless it truly affects me as a human being. Then I would have to, because that's my mode, right? If you kill my wife,
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, well, that was an evil act. Do you know what I'm saying? It only affects me when I let it affect me.
It's like revenge or justice.
Mm-hmm.
Someone kills your wife and you kill them. To you, it's justice.
Yep. But does that make sense, kind of what I was laying out there?
Yeah. Um, it's almost like because we can't conceive anything beyond that,
Mm-hmm.
you have to look at things that way.
Yeah. Then let me ask you then, how do you define that? And do you believe in it, first of all?
I don't really believe in things. Again, I hate that term believe in.
Right.
It's like I'm talking like a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Do you believe in Santa Claus?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in God? Like, I don't have to believe in God. There are things. So like, it came from something else. Uh, there is good and evil, but I don't think it's how we really look at things. It's kind of like two different directions. Um, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter which way it goes. But as players in this game, it would behoove us to do good. When I'm working out here, on my notes. We talked about last week participation and non-participation, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? If you're encouraging others to participate in life, therefore creating more novelty, creating more entertainment, good. If you're Giving people a reason not to, bad. Maybe if your fear is the mind killer.
Fear is the mind killer. I can
Yeah.
imagine so, like what that means. I never heard of it, but
Or my favorite is expectations are the killer of joy.
mm,
Uh, expectation is the killer of joy. I like that one a lot. Um, give you another quick story. It's really no expectations. Going into things with no expectations.
yeah,
You can live in the moment or be in the present, however you want to say it.
yeah,
So only through getting rid of those expectations are you enjoying your time. And you stop and smell the roses.
mm-hmm.
In the same way, fear is a mind killer because it has you. If you go into survival thinking, you're not enjoying yourself.
Yeah,
And if you put others in survival, and just by you being in survival thinking, you can put others in survival thinking. In fact, you will if you're around
hmm.
them. Right? If something's coming to kill you, I mean, if you think um, to the dawning of mankind, something's like enemies are coming to your village. Like it's not just for you, so you're going to warn everybody. And it certainly had a purpose at one time. I found it funny during, well, I would say during COVID, but really before and after too, where you'll have in politics, some people will talk about other people and say that they're fear mongering,
Yeah.
but then they're kind of fear mongering about the fear mongering about something
It's
else.
true. It's true.
So in that way, like that to me would be a purer evil than just kicking a puppy or something.
Fear mongering in
You
general.
know? Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it's like the act of an evil act means it has more repercussions on more people. Would you say? Because the fear mongering in that sense is it's affecting a bunch of people, not one singular human being. Is that how we could define it? Evil is an act that
It's
can
not a
affect the most
quantity.
people.
I wouldn't say it's all quantity, but like one evil act is bad, right? So like killing one person is worse than punching 20 people, right?
Yeah.
But the actual act of how you do it and for the reasons that you're doing it are going to up the ante.
Yeah, because is death an evil? Killing, is that an evil act?
If it's premeditated and for selfish reasons.
When I was watching, so this was maybe a couple months ago, my grandmother passed away, and so I go with my mom to go visit her. She was in like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, she was in a like a nursing home, and she had a really bad
Hospice.
stroke. Yeah, really bad stroke,
Okay.
and I just remember the first time I saw her, she could only make loud sounds, yelling, and it just looked like she was in a lot of fear and just, but she's had some mobility in herself at that time, deteriorated. And I remember she kept trying to get out of her little wheelchair, and she couldn't. She couldn't open her eyes either, and she was just moaning out in pain and reaching out, and she could answer yes and no questions. Do you want water? And she'd nod her head yes. But then that slowly deteriorated, and she was bedridden. And laying in bed, they couldn't give her a feeding tube. Something about her stomach, and she was isn't going to work. So she had to kind of die there. And I slowly watched her turn from that into just bellowing out, yelling and yelling, making strange noises, and just arms reaching out and rubbing on the walls and trying to. It was insane to see. And my mom had to sit there next to her, and I sat next to my mom. It was like this very real moment. It was also symbolic in a sense. I got to watch my mother watch her mother lose her life. right? And I knew I was going to be there too. So it was this very big moment. And I just remember my mom saying, sometimes you wish you could just put them out of their misery instead of them going on like this. Because she laid there for 2+ weeks, basically starving to death until she finally gave up. And that was an act. It's like, if we said, let's put an end to this is horrible for her, in our minds, it's a good thing. No more suffering. But I don't know if that's exactly what she wanted. I can just assume she doesn't want to be like this anymore. But outside of our little sphere, my point is, that would get us in trouble. According to the laws that we have now, which act as the morality within the sphere that I live in, the United States, that would have been seen as, I don't want to say murder. I don't necessarily know the charges that it would be, but if I smothered her in that case, it was killing her. Now, in the thinking that I had, farther than that, you have something fogging up morality. And this is what tinges me the most. What fogs up morality is the idea of blame. So if it's allowed by this hospital, well, then they could be at fault if something's wrong. If it's allowed by the insurance company, well, if something's determined that it was wrong, that they could be at fault. If it was allowed on the level of our justice system when it comes to how we term this, people don't want to be at fault for a fuck up. And it doesn't mean they're not doing that in terms of, well, is it a good or an evil act? That's a great veneer. But the reality is, like, I don't want to be, if something goes wrong and it's bad, I don't want to get in trouble for that. I don't give a fuck about this person. And this is what was churning in my head when I was thinking about this. I said, this woman's lying here suffering, and it's a fucking bureaucracy outside of it. You could term this good and evil any way you want. If I were to say, you know what, fuck them, fuck all this, I'm going to put her out of her misery, regardless if I go to jail or not. In my mind, I was like, well, that's a good act. No more suffering for my grandma, who had a really hard fucking life. But in the eyes of someone else who plays the game, who plays by the rules, could they define it the same way?
That governs so much.
Yeah.
What you were talking about. There's so much of that in the world. It's like, well, it doesn't matter if that's what muddies the water.
Yeah.
It's not about that intrinsic good and evil. It's, well, I'd help them, but if something goes wrong, then.
Yep. But now we're starting to kind of see that this terminology really only makes sense inside of a few spheres. And I keep saying that word sphere because I don't want to say thought forms or anything crazy. Yeah. But inside of religion, it makes a lot more sense because religion says hard line, no, you cannot do that. That's murdering. Only God has the ability to determine whether someone lives or dies. But inside of human constructs outside of religion, now it's starting to get to the point where bureaucracy is involved in opinions and laws and belief systems. You know what I'm saying? I think the idea on paper, again, sounds really great in religion. Sounds fantastic. It's a perfect working system. But outside of that, trying to get your governor to okay some kind of fucking thing that you say that's an evil act, that's a totally different fucking game. So it's a human level idea. It has no idea when it comes to divine level. Because what does the Catechism say in Catholicism? What does it say about God? Right near the beginning, it's like, we understand that God is this immense thing that we cannot define. So that we cannot put any sort of words on this God because it would limit him in some way. I cannot define God looks like this, acts like that, thinks this way, because if I did, it'd limit what he really is. He's all encompassing. We cannot grasp what he is. But this God, according to the Bible in some sense, believes in a just system of what is good and evil. And so that system works because, that's unfathomable. Only God can define what is good and evil. Like in the past, if there were two armies in the field, God will decide the victor, right? Mm-hmm. That's good and evil because I'm fighting for this reason, they're fighting for that. But when it comes to mankind, everybody's got God on their fucking side. Or like when it comes to my grandmother, and then her sister died not much long after that. How do I define if that was a good and evil act? If my wanting to put her out of her fucking misery, God would be like, yeah, I know that you're up in heaven. You did a lot of great things, but that thing, no, you got to go. Is he going to be like that? And it's like, well, these are human constructs, clearly. This is a human being sitting down and saying, how do we make people obey? How do we make people listen to the rules? How do we make this society work? Because everyone sit here, I mean, you deal with it all the time when you were in the police and when you were with kids. Getting people to fucking sit down and agree and just behave is the hardest motherfucking thing to do. So if we can create constructs to make it work that way, all of a sudden, there's a little bit of a buffer zone as long as there are people in power. But am I going to define what's good and evil by my governor, by my fucking senator, by yours, where you're at? Like, am I going to allow them to make these decisions? The institute of the law, this blind justice, as they say, I'm going to allow them to determine what it is, and I'm just going to believe that? Seems kind of like a stupid thing to me. But then again, like always, I'm a fucking pessimist. I know. I kind of look at things a little bit more that way. But where I come from, this is kind of why good and evil is something I just don't know if I can believe in. Not saying it doesn't exist. Not saying I don't believe in God. I'm just saying I really doubt the idea of good and evil. I really do. And that's just kind of how I've always been on that.
It'd be like watching a football game and not believing in points.
Mm-hmm.
It might be fun to play that way. You play a pickup game and like the game doesn't really matter. You don't really like. I've played golf before. I haven't kept score. It's just about the exercise and having fun. But nobody want to watch that.
Right.
Right.
Participation.
I almost think of You ever see the I think it's I Love Lucy. She's like working in a pie factory or something, or it's some sort of factory.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
I know what you're talking about.
Where they got an assembly line.
Yeah.
And she's got to like put the whipped cream on the pies, and the pies just keep coming out faster.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to have a Lucy and some pies. You have to have a good and an evil, like a doer and a doee.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's not funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not
committing to how ridiculous it is.
Like
yeah.
Putting out the pies.
Yeah.
And let's just see what they do. And you see some people are like, well, we need to organize them like this, and like I'll take charge of this, and then you watch them fall on their face, and then whoever takes over, they fall on their face, so they're corrupt for this reason or that reason. And then someone's always coming into the room to put the whipped cream on the pies.
Right.
Let's see what they end up doing with it.
Sounds like
you need it.
Well, in what I'm thinking, it sounds like in your belief, seems like you almost look at it like a joke. Like not necessarily a joke like it doesn't matter joke, but a joke is in like the cosmic funny that this really is, if that makes any sense. Like there's no like divine purpose that is this honorable thing. It's almost like this is all just shit. Like let me see what happens if I throw this at him. What would happen if I made this guy think that there? Okay, that's interesting. Like an experience, an experiment in a sense.
I can't tell you that that's exactly what's going on, but I can tell you that it could be. And even if it's not, I enjoy it more that way.
Mm. Because there's so many people that want to believe that there's this fucking purpose, that there's this like, no, like if you do things right in the right way at the right time, you will be rewarded. And again, that goes into religion too. Oh. But there's a lot of people that want to believe that, right? How many people do you know that they want to believe what they're doing fucking matters eventually, even if they know it doesn't? They go to that same job. Look at me, go to that same job every day. Like one day it's going to matter. Like there's a lot of people that want to believe that there's a point to this. I went through all this suffering as a human being. Oh, there's got to be a purpose to it. God's got a plan for me, A lot of the times people just want to believe these so much. And what you're basically saying is the opposite, in a sense, if it was true and you would accept that.
No, I'm not saying that at all. If you believe there's a purpose, then there's a purpose. You know, if you work hard at something, doing it the right way for the right reasons, there's a purpose. There might not be a reward the level of you'd like, but there's a purpose because at the end of it, you'll find whatever purpose that is. It's things that are like institutionalized, where it's like you do this for this long and get this. They kind of reinforce that view that you're telling me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's not really how things work. Like that works in a controlled environment.
Kind of leads back to what we talked about in the last one about participation, doesn't it? It's about how much you commit to, like, okay, don't shit doesn't just fall in your lap for the most part. You got to commit to it. You got to do whatever it is, whether it's from me trying to write, whether it's for you and your YouTube channel or fucking Charles Barkley and all that. It's this idea like you have to commit. And inside of that committing to this participating inside this system. So for instance, basketball, which is the NBA and all that, you want to do that, you got to participate. You can't just like, yeah, I'm walking in the NBA, I grab a ball, I'm gonna start playing. Then you'd be like, no, you weren't traded here, you weren't, no one signed you. You know, that's what I mean. You got to participate, you got to play the game, and inside of playing that game, that's where you lay that morality. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Andre walking into like Pistons practice, like, "Yo guys, what's up?
I can do this. I got I got
Team
this.
now."
Like 5'9". You're like, no, you can't do it. But my point is the idea that what I'm trying to say is you got to participate inside of this thing. So, what's it
Uh,
like being in the South
it's
as
warm.
someone that grows up in the North?
It's warm.
Yeah, well, whatever. But I just mean people. Is it really that different, or is it just all made up?
People are friendlier on the whole. When you walk around, especially in New York City, there's so many people. There's so little time
Whoops.
to care about each one.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like when you know less people and you have less people around, like you're gonna run into less strangers, more people that you know. You're gonna care a little bit more about each person.
Hmm.
But you only have so much empathy to spare.
When 9/11 happened, how old were you?
I was 12, 13.
And forgive me, I don't understand the geography of it all. Like how far away was that from you?
So where I grew up was about 40 miles to the center of Manhattan. 9/11 is downtown Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hey, get off the table, the counter. Hold on.
I got
Get, get. What's the matter?
meow.
Sit in a chair. A civilized cat. Okay. Yeah. So it's about with train rides and everything. Is my dad worked right near um, the trade center. He worked in downtown Manhattan, and he was actually at work that day too.
No
So
way.
we didn't know what happened with him until like midnight that night because sometimes he'd go to meetings at the World Trade
Mm-hmm.
Center at the building. So,
Wow.
so he was right there. But for him, it takes about an hour with the train to get both in the city, then take the subway down to downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So transit time about an hour,
That's crazy.
40 miles east of the center of Manhattan.
Wow.
Yeah,
40 miles here takes about 30 minutes.
yeah.
Less. This is
Plus
crazy.
driving into like the largest city
I know,
in the
yeah, that's
country.
what I mean, like just how different it is. But and then I was curious, like, what was that like for you? Could you see anything? I mean, I don't know how far 40 miles is from where you're at, and
Yeah, you
also
can't.
like, no,
You couldn't
okay,
see like ash or anything. Um, but what was weird about it was in school they purposely did not tell us what happened.
me neither. Same here.
Yeah, because I think a lot of kids have, at least back then. We had a lot of parents that worked in the city but would commute from the island. So I don't know if that was the reason.
Hmm. Did it like change anything for you in your mind afterward when you learned about it and like, oh my God, here's what actually happened?
It's funny. The night before, my dad took my TV away. He was angry because I wasn't doing my homework, and so I was like, I hate my dad so much,
Yeah.
and like instant karma, you know.
Oh.
Like, I was angry about this little thing being my TV being taken away, and just kind of put things in perspective.
Yeah.
Uh, so
What about afterward? Did that change the way you look at things? Maybe like in terms of good and evil, in that on that theme. It's because like where I'm at, the guys that my buddies, they went and joined the Marines because of that, obviously, because we were of
yeah,
that generation, and so they went and did what they did, and learned a whole lot of shit about it. But it made them see this is a good act I'm about to do, and I was just curious because you grew up so in close proximity to it, and you did go into the police force. I know not necessarily up in New York, but I didn't know if that had affected what you were doing in your life.
no, it's funny. So the summer after 9/11, I got really into politics, like extreme left wing politics.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I was all like, George W. Bush is a war criminal,
Hmm.
and like he's corrupt and working with oil companies, and the thing is, I wasn't wrong. You know, looking
Mm-hmm.
back now, I'm like, but at the time that was just associated with a certain perspective. It's funny. I kind of went from left to right, and then now I'm just like, I feel like everybody should do that though. Put your feet in those kind of shoes
Yeah.
to see, you know. But no, it's like for me, I wasn't really in it. You know, I was still doing my teenager thing. I think one thing that bothered me was like everybody's on the same page now. We all. I was like, that's weird. So
Yeah.
you watch Garfield and Friends,
Mm-hmm.
the animated series with the Buddy Bears?
Mm-hmm.
They always bothered the fuck out of me as a kid, and I get that that's what they were supposed to do. But they have that song that they sang, and the last part is, if you ever disagree, it means that you were wrong. We are because we always get along. And I was like, oh, they're the worst. Garfield hated them too, but just
Yeah.
like they had like this. It wasn't just I didn't like that character. It's this guttural, like, oh, made me
Yeah.
want to puke. All of a sudden, all these MTV stars and Saturday Night Live and all these people that were against Bush, all of a sudden everybody, yeah, he's our president, and
Yeah.
yeah, let's go like blow up the bad guys in the Middle East. Like something, it was similar with Trump because you had the celebrities that loved this guy for the past 30 years, and then
Yeah.
now,
Magically. Yeah.
oh, he's a threat. And it extended. I don't know if you remember, but
A little bit.
a good year or so, really until the Iraq War started. That's when I remember the protests happening, and but that's 2 years already
Yeah.
afterwards. I mean, it did affect me. It definitely widened my perspective on things, but I don't think I had any trauma or anything from it.
Well, that's a national idea of good and evil, is it not? Just with the intentions of after that happened. I remember seeing there was this one woman. I don't remember if she's a congresswoman or senator. I can't remember. But she was the only person that voted, hey, maybe the president shouldn't have this crazy power to go to war with a concept. Because that's essentially what it was. Like, we're going to go to war with anyone that harbored, funded, whether
Yeah,
it's a national, anything. We'll go to war with an idea. Yeah. And she was the only one that said, maybe we shouldn't. Let's not react with hot heads. And she got all these death threats because of that. And people thought she was un American and all this shit. But in some way, they thought that they were doing a good act, and this woman was stopping it. We need to put these people that did this to an end. And again, this is where I'm coming to this idea just to bring up this point that for the most part, yes, good and evil can exist within your personal life, your personal choices, and the things you do to yourself or to another. But the biggest repercussions that affect the most is when it's global, national, cultural, whatever, this large idea. That's when you start to see good and evil defined differently, because look at all the different multitudes of people that add to it. What you just said, like I was over here on leftist, and then I kind of became right, and now I'm like, I don't really play either side. I just understand. it's like a pendulum inside of the spectrum that goes back and forth, swings back and forth. You know, this person does this, that person does that, and it goes like this until eventually it settles, and then it's redisturbed. I just look at life in that sense, and so I wanted to bring this up to kind of get a little bit more of an understanding of maybe your views on this.
Well, you hear that, folks? Take it from Andre. Think globally, act locally.
I guess so.
Question. Now you know. You said it. In your personal life, your personal sphere,
Mm.
you can make the changes. That's why I chose X-ray vision.
And I chose telekinesis.
Because if I could do it, make me happier, then I'd be nicer to everybody else.
It's personal.
Yeah.
Neither one of us were doing those actions for some external, like, and I'm going to like fucking lift trees off of dying children or whatever. It was just a personal, this will make me happy and be a better person in my life.
Yeah.
Just a normal human fucking thing.
Plus, who knows the repercussions if you like save a village? Let's say you drop food to a village and they enslave the village next to them. Look what you did.
It's your fault.
Until next time.
Are we done? Do we have an outro or is that it?
No, that's it.
But every day, it's like even I look in the mirror and say, man, why haven't you found a severed head on the side of the road of this woman? You know?
Whoever you got to get off. Like, I'm not going to judge.
Sometimes I drive home from work with my mouth hoping that my mom will take me home. Yeah, one time I was in my room and I was playing with myself and I was like, God. And I remember my mom walked in the room. She's like, if you're not going to fucking do it, I will. So this is kind of the day-to-day thing. This is all in this week, by the way. So.
Did you let her?
We forgot to, you know, like, damn, we're so close.
I'm sure there are a lot of support groups online.
No. That one's for me.
That one's going into the bank, huh?
Oh, yeah. Hard nutting on that shit, of course. We're talking the kind of nut that goes above you and you're like, damn, I was at the ceiling. Holy shit. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Got to be careful. Well, not the keyboard. You know.
All right. And we're
penis.
Back. Not time to be funny. So what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Never outside of Michigan, all right? Fucking asshole.
And then I'm by myself, so here I am. I'll just, I'll wait and see what happens. What do I do now? And now I can talk about sex again. Nothing really matters anymore, and neither do I. Sometimes I wish I wasn't real, for that fucking matter. You continue to tell stories. What's the point? But be here now. And I want to believe that life has purpose and meaning. In reality, it doesn't. At least that's what your Gma taught me, by the way.